your food?
I was hoping it might be. Well, doesn't this look fine? Thank you, lad.
Thank you, Clive. Do come and visit me again, won't you?
I am Razio.
What's up, you beautiful bastards? It's time to dig into another conundrum that has been on my mind as of late when it comes to gaming and the gaming industry as a whole. Now, we all know that gaming, like film and TV, is a visual art form, a visual medium, which means that its main objective should be to show, not tell, when it comes to experiencing a narrative. But there's something major that I've noticed that has been going on for a while now. If you've watched some of my other content, you'll know that for years now I have been pointing out that games overall, in all genres, have been getting more terrible by the year. We all know why, too, as gaming has been infiltrated by, woke ideologues, talentless hacks, shareholders, and insane amounts of greed. Games have many aspects that have to be executed well in order for it to be considered a great game. Gameplay, music and sound design, control, narrative, dialogue, the list goes on and on. But nearly every aspect has been corrupted in some form or another by the aforementioned shitbirds that make up the vast majority of the industry now. Yet, one thing that people would argue has gotten better and better are the visuals, the graphics. Now, I can see how many would think that, but you're dead wrong if you do. Sure, games have gotten closer and closer to live-action films in terms of their narrative presentation, cinematics, and performance. But if you think that is an overall improvement, then you're missing the forest for the trees. Let me explain. In the past, for example, the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, all aspects of gaming improved together. The developers were limited by the hardware of their time, yet they always managed to push all the aforementioned aspects of their games into the future, and making sure that the visuals they chose, whether heavily stylized, anime-ish, cartoonish, or getting as close to realism as they could, were bringing the current hardware to its limits. Games like Final Fantasy VII and IX on the PS1, Chrono Trigger, Star Fox, Donkey Kong Country, and Super Metroid for the Super NES, Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles for the Genesis, Ocarina of Time and Mario 64 for the N64, Resident Evil 4, and for the GameCube, Metal Gear Solid 3 and Shadow of the Colossus on PS2 are some good examples. And of course, PC games that went from, the very plain Wolfenstein 3D to games like Quake 3 Arena and even World of Warcraft. Every game had its own art style and visual appeal that pushed the limits of their respective platforms and hardware at the time, while also innovating on all other aspects of the game and improving it from the titles that came before, especially in the case where the games were sequels. Yet, if we take a look at today and see from the outside looking in, the graphics getting better and better, allegedly, while every other aspect of the games we play turn into absolute goat shit, why is this? Well, to put it simply, graphics used to be used in service of the story, the gameplay, and all the other elements of the game. But now, the story and the gameplay and all the other elements exist to serve the graphics. A good example of this, take a look at Final Fantasy XVI. The story is pathetically weak. We're told exposition and character development that takes place instead of actually seeing it. And remember, this is a visual fucking medium we're supposed to be playing through. And the entire narrative and piss-poor systems in the game, like the combat, only exist to get you to the next big Michael Bay action sequence or anime cutscene where you press a button every few seconds in these dumbass timed events. And Final Fantasy XVI is by far not the only offender. It's not the exception to the rule, it is the rule. So how did we get here? Well, many reasons. First and foremost, the gaming industry as a whole is generally creatively bankrupt. Most of the good people, you know, the gamers making games for gamers, have been driven out by the aforementioned douche canoe parade of shareholders, activists, and professional victims. But that is definitely not the whole story. Let's not forget that the younger audience they were trying to appeal to has the attention span of a goldfish with ADHD. We can thank social media, TikTok, and bad parenting for that. But the kids these days need visual dopamine hits every 5 seconds or they start drooling on themselves, it seems. And let's not forget the major reason that has just started to emerge in more recent years. The fact that studio after studio is abandoning the tried and true and creative practice of making homegrown game engines for their games in favor of adopting the new Unreal Engine 5. Now, don't get me wrong, UE5 is amazing and the visuals it can produce are beyond anything we've seen before. It's capable of making some truly beautiful scenery. But overall, this decision to switch has, I think, been mainly made out of greed. How so, Raz, you handsome devil you, I hear you say? Well, it's easy. It means these companies can fire whoever they want, whenever they want, or drive away as much of the talent as they want and not suffer for it nearly as much as they would have in the past. You see, in the past, if you wanted to be a top-tier game designer and or a programmer, you'd have to learn C, C++, Unity, or other such languages so you could eventually be part of a team that used game engines unique to whatever studio you landed a job in. Now, though, I mean, companies can't be bothered with that shit. You can learn Unreal Engine 5 in college or in an online course without any higher education and just start shoving assets around. Now, obviously, it's not that easy, but I'm trying to make a point here. In the past, if you paid your employees poorly and treated them like shit and they left, you would then have to train entire new people how to understand your specific engine. That takes a lot of time and money. Now, though, they can just throw any noob in there that has learned Unreal and he or she can work for the project at pretty much any studio. This saves the company time and money, and of course makes the games churn out faster, which isn't fully a bad thing, but a lot was lost because of this. And I should also note that UE5's monetization model makes it so devs don't have to pay for the engine at all until their own game makes a certain amount of money. Now, less and less you are seeing games come out that are very stylized and unique, and not because UE5 isn't capable of doing these things, it very much is. But why do that when companies can just download bundles from Unreal and slap shit together? We're starting to see game after game appear almost as clones of each other, beautiful looking yet hollowed out shells that kind of all just look the same. The UIs aren't unique, nor the animations. To top it off, studios have been even started to opt out of hiring voice talent and are instead opting into AI to do all that kind of work, but that's a topic for another time.
We're not gonna make it, are we? People, I mean.
It's in your nature to destroy yourselves.
Add all of this together and it's prime real estate for greed and laziness in the industry to thrive. And why do games need to look so real in the first place? They don't. In fact, if every game is trying to look as lifelike as possible, it starts to kill the very nature of what gaming has always been, an art form. I already have films and TV. I don't need my video games to be the exact same fucking thing. Game studios have all began to try to increase the visuals and the realism because they know all other aspects of their game are fresh out of innovation and new ideas. So why not blast out how awesome their game looks and continuously try to overload their audience's visual sensory just to make some sales? Well, I hate to break it to them, but graphics don't mean shit if the rest of your game is trash. For example, when CGI in films first came out, it blew people away. But these days, 70% or more of most films is all CGI bullshit, and now everyone's kind of numb to it. We've become completely desensitized. In fact, it's far more common now to be shocked and in awe when you see a practical effect like the old days and see it done well. It's actually quite impressive. And for the reason for that is our minds are powerful things, and no matter how real a computer tries to make something look, we instinctively know when what we are seeing isn't real, isn't tangible. At this point, all we do see is clone after clone that has no real substance to it, like the legendary TV shows, films, and games, of course, of our pasts. It's all a bunch of shoddily put together crappy systems designed to serve the visual, and I, for one, am kind of fucking sick of it. We need the stylization back. We need the visuals to serve the story and not the other way around. Good graphics is not mutually exclusive with a good game anymore and hasn't been for a very long time. Some of the greatest games of all time that many people would still rather play than the shit that's fed to us today have terrible visuals by comparison, though they were amazing at the time. And the reason is because all other aspects of the game were memorable and solid and made with passion. Today it's all made by computers, AI greed, and a desert where all good ideas and developers used to be. Which no doubt is why we are seeing so many remasters and remakes today. I did a video about that shit. See it here. Anyway, I don't mean to be long-winded. Let me just wrap this up by saying, as gamers, we need to do our best to not be taken in by the pretty box that these lazy-ass studios are presenting to us, and instead need to look inside the box to see if there's any substance, innovation, and improvements in other areas before we hand over our hard-earned money. Like many things in the industry, the only power we as gamers have is the ability to use our wallets, and we need to hold these companies to higher standards if we ever want to see the like of the games of our pasts again. Good graphics alone don't mean shit anymore. Anyway, guys, those are my thoughts and feelings. What are your thoughts and feelings down below? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Anyway, guys, comments down below. I read almost all of them. Thanks, everybody, so much for the support I've received over the last few months. I'm going to continue to bring the content out to you. Keep in mind, I do stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday on Twitch and YouTube simultaneously at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. You can come hang out with me, shoot the shit, maybe even give me some video ideas. But anyway, guys, enough babbling. Everybody take care of yourselves. And as always, my friends, keep it real.